It is the year 2472, and the Earth has suffered a great calamity. Hundreds of years of popular culture have vanished. Without the sacred films and texts for guidance, civilization is devoid of anything cool. Then, 3 incubation chambers are unearthed, and from within, men from the time of the great blockbusters emerge. Now, through highly interesting conversations, they share invaluable insight about what once was. The movies, the shows, the comics, toys, and books. This is
The Hyperspace.
Podcasting in the 25th century.
Welcome in, podcast pioneers, to the hyperspace. Podcasting in the 25th century. The interweb's first, and yes, still only, podcast. My name's Matt.
I'm Jared.
And I'm Mike.
How's quarantine living, gentlemen?
Well, it's, I tell you, Matt, it's mighty, well, I tell you what, I finished Tiger King.
I tell you one thing. That Carol Baskin, she started COVID-19. She absolutely did.
I think the true phenomenon of 2020 is not the quarantine, but Tiger King.
It could be. It could be.
Man,
And
is there nothing? Has anything ever been bigger than Tiger King?
I don't know.
Everybody is talking about Tiger King, and so will we.
I'm going to say I have seen some of the funniest memes in my life.
The best.
From
This has
this
been an
thing.
internet
this
windfall.
is a meme gold mine that will keep producing for many years.
We are in the golden age of memes because of Tiger King.
It is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, of all the things, just last week we kind of touched base on things that we were watching, and the week before even, but Tiger King is a phenomenon, and it's just I don't even know
The fact that it
how to wrap
happened
my brain around it.
when all of America is stuck in their houses.
I mean,
You know, the people who made that documentary couldn't have,
Yeah.
timing.
dreamed of a
Could you
better
imagine?
scenario to release that thing.
It's not the train wreck we deserve, but the train wreck we needed.
Yeah. I think when you watch something that takes your mind off how bad your life is and how your life could never possibly be as bad as what's presented on screen.
It's hey,
when you-
I still have all my limbs.
You think that you've hit rock bottom, but realize you're truly at the top of Mount Everest. When in comparison to
Yes.
these people in Tiger, I can't even get. It's such a long discussion. We'll deep dive into Tiger King and the mystique and allure.
Yeah, but right now it's completely taking the world by storm.
Man, but yeah, Tiger King. We've all just experienced Tiger King. I'm one episode away from finishing the work of pure genius in.
Okay, you're one episode away. I'm just going to say watch out
Sadness
for
of-
jet skis. Watch out for jet skis. That's all I'm going to say. All right.
But quarantine living. It's from this point when we're recording this, it's the quarantine got extended a little longer. So everyone social distance, wash your hands, wave at your neighbor, but don't get too close. I had somebody. I was at Dunkin' Donuts the other day, and you feel weird going into these places.
Well, you can actually
especially when,
still go inside a Dunkin' Donuts.
Well, this one you can because it's not drive-through, so they left it open.
Oh,
and they
wow.
put 2 tables in front of like the main counter, so you have to stay even further away.
Yeah.
But I feel always strange walking up to them because every person that comes in that door, they look at like, is this the one? And
Have you had people walk around you?
yeah, well, no, that's what happened. So it's a narrow. It's not big. It's narrow when you're waiting. So and there's 2 ways in. There's one door here, and the other door's on the other side of the counter. But the line starts by the door I came in. So people coming in the other door have to like sneak by you. And I had this one woman who was she came in and she ducked, kind of like hugged the wall, like overtly, very like obviously hugged the wall to get by me. And I'm like, I'm just gonna kind of play with this one. Because I thought it was such an obvious expression. She wasn't even trying to hide it. So I got my coffee and I got my donuts. My kids are in the car outside with my wife, and she's the next in line, and she's like 8 feet away, super social distancing. And as I walked by, I coughed, but like towards the wall. I went, and it looked like she had like a spasm. She ducked down and kind of like got close to the counter. So I'm like, look, people, you know, have some respect.
Well,
don't crowd people.
Have you had any? I really haven't had any odd. I mean, because we still go to the grocery store, and the other day I was at the vet, and the girl, actually my veterinarian is located inside of the PetSmart pet superstores, and I was buying some food for my cat, and the cashier, I put the cat food on the little table there, and she's like, "Sir, can you back up, please?"
Oh my gosh!
I'm like, what? The cashier? And I was like, yeah, sure. You gonna be able to take my money? And she's like, yes, sir. And they had a taped box, and they had moved the little credit card machine like far away from the.
Oh yeah.
And I had to stand in a taped off box and do the credit card transaction. It was really weird.
Yeah,
but that's the only
strange.
person like out in public so far who's told me to get lost.
This woman at Dunkin' Donuts is the only person who's been overtly strange about the social distancing. So it hasn't been that disruptive, but I kind of feel bad going into these places where these poor people are standing behind the counters, and you can tell they're just concerned about everybody walking in. But, batten down the hatches, we'll make it through this, everybody. I can tell you that for sure, because we're looking back from the 25th century.
Yeah, we know what happens. We've seen the result. So, Mike, has anyone told you to step away? I mean, more than the normal amount of people that you encounter daily?
Well, right now I'm harboring a cough, and anyone who knows me,
yes,
when I get a cough, it takes me forever to shake it.
You've had this chronic cough ever since I've known you. That's like 20 years.
True, thank God. But I was at Woggles, and I coughed, and when the cashier's eyes got real big, it was like she jumped a little bit. She looked over at me, and I was like, oh, this is just great. I saw 1917, and it was before everything started getting locked down, and I'm sitting in the theater, and I was like, oh, man.
you were coughing?
People in hazmat suits going to come storming in the theater, grab me. And
like, get that guy, he's coughing.
So it's hard to accept. No, it's just drainage. It's drainage.
Well, you got to make it sound really moist because the mucus isn't really associated with this particular virus. So
people don't know that. No.
Well, it's not. It's sneezing. Sneezing is not part of the symptoms, but it's allergy season, and it's a bad allergy season down here in Florida, and I am sneezing my head off constantly. But if you sneeze in public, and I am one of the people who is still going to work, so I'm sneezing a lot at work, and people are like, "Oh, I got away." I'm like, I didn't sneeze in your face. I sneezed into my elbow, and sneezing is not what's part of this virus. Now, if you
it's a confusing time. People don't know.
Yeah, and I want to say, coworker, if you talk at me like that again, I will not cover my mouth next time I sneeze, and make sure it's a productive sneeze that lands squarely in your face. I don't say that though. I'm not. But yeah, it's crazy times right now.
Who'd have guessed?
That's why you need to stay home and just listen to podcasts. And that's our podcast, because there aren't any others.
We dive in a little bit of random space first.
All right, I'm going to dive it in.
Random access memory.
Well, guys, talking about movies and, questioning whether the movie industry will ever rebound from this, the great plague of 2020, made me think of the times I've seen movies where I had like a very unusual or maybe even a unpleasant experience. So I thought maybe that would be something we could share with our listeners. What do you think, guys? Is that a good idea?
An experience that you just walked away from that movie going, huh?
Or
Like,
are
that
you
was odd. That was unexpected.
Are you talking about like something that happened at the theater, or the quality of the movie you were watching?
I would say something an exterior event that happened during the movie.
Well, Mike, why don't you kick it off, and we'll follow suit.
Okay, so all right, so this one is Batman Returns. Okay, when Batman Returns opened, there was a little. I grew up in a community called Halls, and we had a little theater.
Like the throat lozenge.
Like what?
You said halls, and I said, like the throat lozenge.
Just like that. In fact, it's strange that you brought that up. But
Okay.
yeah, that's what we used to say to each other. So anyway, we had this little rinky-dink movie theater, and they played Batman Returns the night before. I guess it was like a midnight showing. I don't know. This was before, because now it's commonplace for movies to open. Like, they used to have the midnight showing, and then they moved it to the 10 p.m. showing, and now it's pretty much like a 6 p.m. showing.
Yes.
So I know this was the night before. It was either the night before it opened or it was like a midnight showing. I can't remember, so long ago. What year was that when Batman Returns came out? 92, 93?
92, yeah.
So, also, there was something else that was happening. And I have to explain that I am not a fan of country music. Like, at all. I can listen to some Johnny Cash, and that is about as far as it goes. But what I really don't like, I don't like country. I don't hate it. I would never speak badly of it. It's just not for me. But what I do hate is pop country, because I think it's terrible. So anyway, the reason I'm bringing this up, because this actually is important for the story, because you have to understand my ignorance. So of pop country music. So we went to see Batman Returns, and I will say at this point in my life, I really like Batman Returns. I think it's actually better than the first Batman.
Yeah, I agree.
But the first time you see it, that movie's a lot to it's a lot to digest.
Yeah, it's
It's a lot going on.
So you're kind of like, what? 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 Selena Kyle's resurrected by cats?
It's not quite as easy to digest as the first one.
It's one of those. It has aged really well. So during the movie, I'm kind of in that mindset of man, this movie is really strange, and I'm not sure if I like it. So it gets to the end where, spoiler alert, the Penguin dies, where he's dying, and is the scene where he I guess it's after some explosions or something. Anyway, he pops up out of the water, and he's speaking, and he's got that black bile sputtering out of his mouth.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this music starts. And I'm thinking, okay, Tim Burton has gone too far. This makes no sense whatsoever. It was this really upbeat music, and I'm what the hell is this? And I'm this is so weird. Why is he doing this? It's ruining the scene. And then people are looking around, and they're going, oh no. So I finally realized, because I'd heard of this song, I knew of the song's existence because it was a really big song at the time, but I'd never really heard it. But what had happened is, back in the old days when you'd go see movies, before they bombarded you with advertisements and sneak peeks behind TV shows and movies, you would sit in the theater with a screen blank, listening to whatever radio station they were piping through the speakers.
Correct.
So what happened was the radio had kicked on.
Oh, no.
Because the movie was running past the time they normally run movies. And so the song that was playing was Achy Breaky Heart. So I'm and I didn't know. I knew of the song because the song, anyone who lived at that time knows that song was a bona fide.
Yeah, it was a big
phenomenon.
Breaky heart.
It was huge.
Oh. And it's playing as the Penguin's dying.
It's playing during the Penguin's death scene, and I thought it was part of the movie. And I'm this is so weird. This doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And so
It's part of the movie.
I
did. I seriously thought
you're Tim Burton has gone too far.
That's exactly what I thought. This is just too much. So So
I can see that
like,
now
okay.
in my head. Oh,
So I'm like, so then I hear people like mumbling, and I guess I was sitting with someone who knew what it was, and they're like, "This is Achy Breaky Heart by Billy Ray Cyrus," and I'm like, "Oh no!" And so we thought after a few seconds they would figure it out and turn it off, but no, the people who worked there had no clue how to turn the speaker off. For the duration of the movie, we heard the rest of Achy Breaky Heart and whatever other country song came on, and so yeah, that was my Batman Returns experience.
I can totally see like the penguin like coming up out of the water with his black goo, and then, oh, don't tell me heart, breaky, breaky heart. And you're like, Tim Burton's gone too far.
That's exactly what happened. It's exactly.
Well, I mean, that scene especially.
Yeah, because it's like he's all...
And then those ridiculously tall penguins.
Yeah, it was like an
waddle up to
army of
take 'em away.
penguins and
You've
everything.
got achy breaky.
the obvious men in penguin suits that are 6 feet tall.
See, I thought that's what you were leading into, that you're going to make fun of those penguins, but then it's achy breaky heart.
Which is 1,000 times better. Oh, man.
So
damn, that's funny.
they gave everyone passes to come see it again. But
Wow.
that was unusual,
Man,
I think,
That's
to
funny.
say the least. But I think what's funny is I thought it belonged in the movie. In fact, I told a friend of mine this same story, and he loved the story so much that he set up Achy Breaky Heart on his stereo. He was watching it with his girlfriend, and when it got to the penguin's death scene, he started playing the song because he wanted to try to experience it the same way I had.
oh, my gosh.
You know, I'm going to, on our YouTube channel, do exactly that. I'm going to get that scene.
You got to
and
make
I'm
an
gonna then
edit.
Put Achy Breaky on it to get the Mike experience.
The Mike Doyle cut of Batman Returns.
Oh, man. I'll go next because you jogged my memory about Batman. Oh, man, that was good, though. So in 1995, I went to see Batman Forever in the theater.
Poor guy.
So for those who aren't familiar, that was the Val Kilmer one with, was it Chris O'Donnell? Is that his name?
Chris O'Donnell.
As Robin. And,
Yes, and Jim Carrey and Tommy
Jim
Lee
Carrey's the
Jones.
Joker.
Yes, that movie.
Man, it was a bad movie. But
it was very bad.
But so in college in 1995, I was young. I was about 20.
Mm-hmm.
We were really into Bacardi 151, and we used to call it 9 till 2 because it's always 151. It's always 9 till 2 or 151.
Oh, okay.
And
See what you did there.
so I went with two of my roommates, and I think one or two of their girlfriends. I can't remember. It was kind of a sizable group that went to go see this, and it was up in Tallahassee on North Monroe Street off some. I don't know if the theater's still there or not, but it was. I think we saw it on like a Friday, and it was late in the showings, so it wasn't really busy at that point. So we had kind of an empty theater, and one of my roommates had discovered something at the local head shop called Herbal Ecstasy, which is really just like a hypervitamin pill that they marketed as Herbal Ecstasy. So he had popped like, I don't know, a few of these things, and we were all pretty well lit on Bacardi 151. And if you've never drank Bacardi 151, that stuff will make you invincible, and then it will kill you in the same night. But we're about halfway through the movie, and nobody's really enjoying it. And my roommate starts to get sick right next to me.
Oh, boy.
He's too drunk. He's got too much of this crap in him, and he starts to puke in his full popcorn, mind you.
Oh,
And
yes.
he's like on the other side of me. He's on the far side of the group. So I'm seeing it, but like there's a scatter going on. But he leaves. He just ups and goes. He leaves, and he stumbles out of the theater, and he's gone for the rest of the film. So we're like, should we go look for him? We're like, no, we're gonna sit here and watch the rest of this movie. So we watch the rest of the movie, and he never comes back. And we're like, man, where did this guy go? Is he okay? So we go look in the movie theater bathroom. He's not there. Nobody knows where he is. But we look out in the parking lot, and through the glass doors, there's all kinds of commotion happening in the parking lot. There's red flashing lights. There's blue flashing lights.
Oh, man.
There's lots of flashing lights. Lots of emergency lights. So what the hell happened? So we kind of like slip out of the theater and start walking towards where we parked, which is exactly the epicenter of where all these lights are around. And we realize my roommate's legs are sticking out from under his own car, the back of his car, and there is yellow police tape around the entire thing.
Oh no!
So, long story
Should we
short,
be
what
laughing?
had happened? Well, listen, he had gone out to his car to get some air, and he wound up sitting on his back bumper, sitting on the road against his back bumper, and then fell asleep, and then slinked his way somehow under his car. So, one of the workers at the movie theater saw the legs sticking out from a car and thought somebody died.
This is
And
not a true
called-
story. I don't
It
believe
is a true
this
story.
is true.
And he called he or she called the authorities, and what had happened was the Tallahassee homicide detective showed up before anybody else and cordoned off the entire scene with tape because he didn't want to disturb anything in case it had been a gunshot wound. Because it was like 9 o'clock at night. It was dark. And
All they saw was
under
legs.
the car.
Alive? They just assumed he was dead.
Yes. No, he was. They didn't even get near him. They just saw the legs sticking out. Yellow tape around the car. There was a fire truck, an ambulance, like 10 cops, and everyone's standing around talking. And all of a sudden, his leg starts to twitch, and everyone freaks out. And he comes out from the car, and his eyes are as big as like dinner plates. And he's like, what's going on? And we're like, he's okay, folks. He's okay. And we kind of convinced the police that he's not dead and everything's fine. And yeah, that was my Batman Forever experience.
Wow.
Was coming out to find my roommate.
Was there any follow-ups to that? Like,
No, they all
was it a bunch of
left.
drunk 20-year-olds?
Yeah, and there's nothing they could charge us with because we didn't call the police. It was the movie theater that called him. He was just, I guess he could have gotten a ticket for drunken disorderly conduct, but nobody,
Well,
at
you
that
can't
point.
really say sleeping under your car is disorderly conduct.
Well, I mean, it's so I don't remember him getting a ticket, but we got out of there. Nobody got arrested that night. So, but yeah, that's my college Batman Forever movie experience.
Man.
Come on, Jared, you got a Batman story?
No, I don't actually. I do remember going to the midnight show of the Val Kilmer Batman, though. And I do remember that and thinking something was really wrong. But I didn't have a bunch of police waiting for me as I came out of the theater. Man, you know what? You guys, you got me on that one. But I got two quick stories. And they're nothing of the level that you guys talked about, especially the homicide detective. But I saw, this was, 2002, 2003. There used to be a movie theater. It's when I lived here in Clearwater in an apartment. Sometimes I had a movie theater like right next to my house. And me and Mike, and maybe even Matt, me and Mike had seen some movies at this AMC. It was an older theater. It was like 5 minutes from my apartment, so I would see a lot of movies there, even though it wasn't the state of the art or anything, no stadium seating even. But so I was there and I was seeing Catch Me If You Can. It was the Spielberg DiCaprio movie, and I was by myself. The theater was pretty full, but I had a bucket of popcorn, and I was eating the popcorn, and your hands get slick from butter. And I brought my left hand out of the popcorn bucket, and I heard this ding, 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 ding.
Oh no!
My wedding ring had slipped off, and in 5 minutes into the movie, and this was not stadium seating. It was one of those that where the floor just slopes.
Just a ramp.
It slopes downward. And I was like, oh, are you kidding me? So the whole movie, I mean, it was very hard to concentrate on what was happening because I was just thinking, my wife is going to shoot me in the face. because she had been telling me for ages to get my ring size because it was too big. And I was like, nah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. But now I'm sitting here going, well, somebody's gonna find this gold ring down there. And so the movie ended.
Sounds like your ring betrayed you.
It did. It did. Precious. Yeah, it was. I started turning into Gollum during the film, but the movie ended, and I just sat there and waited and it was pretty full, and I sat there and waited for everyone to clear out. So, as people cleared out, I just started walking the rows and looking down each row, and like this old married couple. They were in their late 70s probably, and they're like, "Son, is something wrong?" And I was like, yeah, I dropped my wedding ring came off in the movie, and it rolled down the hill here. And then, of course, the husband was like, "Oh, it ain't no good. We got to find it." So these nice old people helped. They eventually, I think it was his wife that actually found the ring. And it was a good ways down from where I was sitting too. But man, that was terrifying. But and it's just that sinking. You just sitting there going, man, there's nothing you can do, because I couldn't just get up in the middle of the movie and be like, "Excuse me, looking for my ring." But there's one other, and this is a quick one. I was seeing a film that Mike really loves called Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's his favorite film ever, with Gary Oldman and Winona Ryder.
Yeah, we know why you
yeah.
saw that movie.
So I went with my buddy Josh, and we were watching the movie. It was the opening weekend. It was really crowded. It was packed. And, this was, I think, 91 or 92. So, we're like, 16, 17 years old. And so seated next to Josh are a couple of girls, high school, our age. And so while the movie's playing, I look over at Josh. This is probably about 20 minutes in. And the girl sitting next to Josh keeps like grabbing his arm, when she gets scared and stuff. And so I'm like, wow, hey, little pimp, hey. So, but like a little more time passes, and I look over, and they've got like the interlock finger handhold going on. And I'm like, wow, what the heck is going on? 15 minutes before the end of the movie, they are open mouth making out. And I am just like, what in the hell? How did this happen? They're not talking to each other because they're sitting there watching the movie. But I'm looking over, and I looked over, and, at the end of the film, they got up and left, and I was like, dude, what was that? He's like, I don't know. I don't even know what her name is. And I don't know. I'd never seen anything like that. It was pretty impressive. Josh had a way with the ladies, but that was something, 17-year-old me I truly held that in awe. Like, oh man, you didn't even talk to her, and you're making out with her at the end of the movie. So I think he actually did have her phone number, but nothing ever came of it. So anyway, those are my movies. No Police, no Billy Ray Cyrus.
Well, I got a quick one. Another really quick one. We saw Last of the Mohicans. It was me and a few friends of mine, and you've seen that movie, right?
Yes.
Great movie.
The scene where they're hiding in the burial ground and the French are looking for them?
Yes.
It's like dark. It's like this really, really quiet scene because everyone's being quiet. The French are sneaking up quietly, and the whole thing is like really quiet.
I see where this is going.
I'm sitting there. So I thought, man, I got to fart. So I thought, I'll just squeak one out. It'll be quiet. No big deal. So I'm sitting there, and it goes like.
So stupid.
And I'm like, my eyes get real big. And I look over at my friends, and they're all like, they're just like, so we're all sitting there snickering. I know everyone in the theater had to have heard that because it was so dead. It was
There's
just
no other
quiet.
sound. It's just
No.
that's so.
So, of course, I like sink down even further into my seat because I'm like, oh man,
You're like, I could just totally squeak this out. Mike, let me tell you something. Mike, Mike doesn't understand what squeaking one out is. Mike's pretty much all in or nothing when it comes to this type of stuff. You know,
Man.
we have to edit out like 4 or 5 farts pretty much every podcast that we do.
It's a good topic, though.
It's,
You got me
yeah, it
thinking.
is. At some,
Yeah, I got one. I got one when I was, I think, a sophomore. What year did Ghost?
oh, that was like 1990 or something. Yeah, it was
Yeah, so
1990.
I think it was like a freshman or sophomore. I don't remember which. But we're watching that, a bunch of us at the Dollar Theater. We got dropped off, and somehow we wound up sitting in like the second row.
Oh, those are the best.
Oh, so you're already upset that you're like that close. And I remember
I'd be
just being-
upset that I was in the theater watching Ghost. But
No, hear me out. So it was a packed theater in this Dollar Theater, and I remember right at the scene where they're, Patrick Swayze's behind Demi Moore and they're doing their sensual clay making.
Oh, yes.
I was so annoyed. I had a whole pack of Twizzlers. I took the whole bunch of Twizzlers out of the plastic, and I dipped them in my Coke and got them soaked, and I just chucked them at the screen with the intention of just being a jerk. But what happened was, as I chucked them, I'm so close, and they were wet. I was trying to get like a splatter effect going. What happened was,
gosh.
just as their hands are morphing the clay vase into something wonderful, a big pack of Twizzlers literally sticks on the screen in a big smack, and it just sticks there the whole time and never came down. It stayed up there for like 5 or 6 minutes before it finally
man.
slithered down the screen
You're
and
one
fell
of
off.
these a-hole jerk kids.
Oh man, I ruined it. That very special scene for many people. Probably never ever would see it in the theater again. And that special scene had a big smack of Twizzlers on the screen.
They just stayed there the whole movie?
They stayed there for like maybe three or 4 minutes, but that's a long time when you're the culprit, and you're like,
I
that
can
close to the
imagine.
screen.
He's sitting there going, please fall. Please fall. Please, for the love of God, fall.
Because it wasn't my intention was just to make like a noise and just have people laugh, but it literally just stuck there like glue for like a few minutes, and it was great. But
That's interesting, like, train of thought there. If I take my Twizzlers and I dip them in my Coke, I can throw them at the movie screen.
Exactly. I'm going to waste this pack of Twizzlers.
it was. I think it was more of a expression of my annoyance of that sitting that close and being at that movie at the time.
Okay. Wow. I got you. Jeez.
Well, this is probably the longest Ram segment we've ever done.
Probably so. This is like 30 minutes long. But hey, I think there was some laughs. Some good laughs. Man. All right. Well, that was quite guys, that random access memory was pretty much the whole show. But I think I haven't laughed that hard in a while, so I think it was well worth it.
Yeah.
We were going to do some, crappy coronavirus story, but we decided to keep it light and, why bring the room down? You know what I'm saying? We can always save that episode for next week. Well, please, everyone, we'd love to hear from you. Leave us a review. Tell us what you think of the show and tell others about it. Share it out. So, until next week, everyone stay safe. Stay healthy, and remember, don't cover your mouth when you cough. That is absolutely terrible advice. Don't do any of that, what I just said. All right, guys, we will see you next week here on The Hyperspace.
You know you can't live without this content, so subscribe to the Hyperspace Podcasting in the 25th Century. Follow us on social media, leave us a review, and join us next time as we take you into the 25th century.
Welcome in, podcast pioneers, to the Hyperspace, podcasting in the 25th century. The interweb's first, and yes, still only, podcast. My name's Matt.
I'm Jared.
Slip.
I think you keep that for the post credits blooper.
Oh, I already thought that in my head I was going to use that. That's exactly what goes in the post credits. That whole sequence right there.